I'm going to start this video with a trigger warning. The contents of this video is going to get really dark. Be prepared. I'm going to discuss some of the darkest moments of my mom's life, and I didn't want to open up about this in previous videos, but it's extremely important for you guys to hear it. And her actions has had some devastating consequences. In fact, my mama, she nearly overdosed and died right in front of me. So I've talked about my mom's divorces before. She's been divorced 6 times, and for many years I've tried to understand, what the hell happened, because I have never ever heard or encountered anybody that has been divorced that many times anywhere in this world. And at the end of this video, I will share the details of the generational curse I believe that was placed on my family all the way back in 1979. So let's skip the first few divorces. Okay, I'm going to talk about my mom's final 2 marriages. Okay, this is when things went completely disastrous, especially the fifth marriage. So this was the early 2000s. This is the early days of online dating, MSN Messenger. And through online dating, my mom, she met a guy from Taipei, Taiwan. So this was roughly late 2002 to spring of 2003. And everybody know this guy from Taiwan was extremely sketchy. Everybody in my family warned my mom. But unfortunately, my mom believed this guy's story. So he went to mainland China. He went to my hometown, and he spent many months together with my mom. So when this guy first flew over from Taiwan to my hometown, at the time, my mom was already divorced 4 times. She was a 42-year-old single mom. So that's a lot of baggage, okay? And if some random guy from Taiwan is so eager to fly over to marry you, that means that there's something extremely sketchy going on. And to all of you guys asking me, okay, how come, the fact that you're having such a hard time even just getting a date, how come, your mom, your aunts, your cousins, your sisters, how can they have these unlimited number of partners and marriages and divorces? Well, I mentioned before, right? The dating market in China for Chinese women, it's so easy, right? It is so easy for a Chinese woman to get a date. Any Chinese woman can easily find a man that's above average, but they choose to completely mess everything up. When women have all these options, they choose the absolute worst partners possible. I mentioned this before. This is due to China's 40 million excess man crisis. There are just way too many men and not enough women. So every single woman have a truckload of men that they can choose from. Unfortunately, women are terrible when they're choosing a male partner. So this guy in 2003, he flies over to mainland China from Taiwan. He claims to be a multi-millionaire at the time. He claims that he's got this mansion in Taipei. He's also got some seaside cottage or something right by the sea. And he also claims to have a sports car. And he told my mom that he wants to share his millions of his wealth with my mom. And obviously, that sounds like complete bullshit. Maybe if my mom at the time was an 18-year-old virgin, that could be true, right? But somehow my mom was sold into the lie. That's the part I will never understand about a modern woman. Remember Ted Bundy, right? The serial killer. No, women were sending Ted Bundy love letters in prison. They still believed his innocence. He even had a girlfriend while he was in prison after his final arrest. But shifting the topic back to my mom, so she actually agreed to this guy who claimed to be a multi-millionaire. And my mom, she actually got a visa to fly to Taiwan. So she flew over to Taiwan during the spring of 2004. And however, that marriage only lasted a few months. I think was anywhere between 3 to 6 months. My mom was extremely lucky to make it back alive, because it turned out in the end, this guy who claimed to be a multi-millionaire, and my understanding is that this guy is actually a pimp. He was trying to sell my mom into sex slavery. And I don't know what happened, but I do remember that when my mom returned from Taipei, Taiwan, she was luckily enough to escape. So this was in September of 2004. I remember she must have lost 20 or 30 pounds. She was a complete skeleton, and her skin was completely burnt, and she had a bunch of scratch marks all over her body. It was a horrific experience. I saw how much she had changed within those 6 months. It's very possible that she was subjugated and sexually assaulted by her fifth Taiwanese husband. And this has had the severe consequences on my mom. Because after this failed marriage, my mom started taking antidepressants like crazy. It was a very scary time. But you guys want to know something crazy, right? She's gone through all of this trauma. And we all told my mom, me, my sister, my grandmother, my aunts, this dating, relationship, marriage, this thing is not for you. Just stay single and have some peace by yourself. But you know what my mom said? No, I'm going to get married again. So just a couple months after returning from Taiwan, after her narrow escape from death from this Taiwanese pimp that sexually assaulted her, she got married again. This was her sixth and final marriage. This marriage lasted for 7 years. So it was during my mom's final marriage, she was able to have a successful sauna business. She co-founded a company with her sixth husband. And at one point, they were making millions of dollars. I mentioned before, my mom was able to purchase three properties in China, all paying cash. And she bought three vehicles. At one point, she rented four offices, and she had 50 employees working for her. But unfortunately, good things never last. Her marriage basically fell apart again. And when my mom was constantly fighting with her sixth husband, obviously this is a family business. Their business also started to fall apart due to their constant bitching and arguing. So my mom ended up filing for divorce in 2011, ending her final marriage. And this is during one of my visits back to China. So I went back in the fall of 2011. I stayed in China for 6 months. So this is right after her final divorce was finalized. And I had finally realized how deep the depression has run in my mom. And I realized that there was a severe issue with my mom. That's why I asked her, I said, let's take a road trip. Let's go on family vacation because something is not right. Because even when my mom saw me at the train station in my hometown, and then when she was finally able to see me after a couple years, there was a zero emotion. Okay, she looked like a complete dead skeleton, and I can tell that she was taking multiple medications. You know who she reminded me of at the time? Dr. Jordan Peterson. Remember, he had that chaotic episode a few years back that he had to go to Russia to get treatment, and apparently this was due to overdose from antidepressant. So the same thing happened to my mother. I had mentioned before there has been multiple suicides in my family. So I know at least two male family members. They jumped off from a rooftop of a building. This is actually very common for Chinese men. So many Chinese men choose this as a way of committing suicide. However, this method is too much for Chinese women. So oftentimes for Chinese women, when they choose suicide, what they would do is that they would take an unbelievable amount of sleeping pills or antidepressants, and they will end up overdosing. China has extremely strict laws on these. So my mom, what she ended up doing was, I think that she will go to the pharmacy. She will ask the doctor to prescribe her with sleeping pills and antidepressants. And obviously, they can only give her a couple at a time, but she will stockpile these for many and many months. And unfortunately, the overdose happened back in March of 2012. This is the middle of a family vacation. So everybody knew that my mom was in a very dark place. So we decided to go on a family trip. My sister was not included in this trip. It was me and my grandmother. She was still alive at the time, and thank God that she was with us, where my mom could have died at the hospital. And it was me. We didn't go alone. We ended up going with a tour group. It was like one of those 5-day tours. So we went to Shanghai, then Hangzhou and Suzhou. So 3 cities in 5 days. And it was the first day of the tour while my mom was on the bus. I believe that she had stocked up all these antidepressants and sleeping pills, so she ended up overdosing. So basically, she went into a complete withdrawal and the seizure mode. It was extremely scary, and we called the emergency taxi, and the taxi driver weaved through traffic to get us to the hospital. And when we arrived at the hospital, my mom was at the point where she couldn't even get up or walk, so I had to carry her on my back, and we went to the ER. Unfortunately, because obviously Shanghai is a few hours away from my hometown, and for my mom to get treatment, so her medical card doesn't work. She has to do a separate registration, and there was a bunch of forms to fill out. Obviously, I don't understand the process. Back during this time, I had already left China for 7 years. So my grandmother, she had to basically run up and down the hospital and visit a bunch of places to basically take pictures, get photocopies to get the paperwork done and mom so she can get treatment. And this whole time while I was carrying my mom, she was in a total withdrawal mode. And she kept telling me that, son, this is goodbye. I'm going to die here at the hospital. I don't want to live anymore. I'm giving up on this world. She kept telling me that probably few hundred times a day throughout the night. We're at the ER for the entire night. She keeps saying that, son, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Just let me go. I can't take the pain anymore. And that night completely traumatized me. I will never, ever forget it. When my grandmother, she finally got the paperwork done, my mom was carried to the ER. She was giving some emergency IV drips, and all of us were completely shaking. It was just me and my grandmother. And my mom, she's basically semi-conscious the entire night. I could still see her pale white face. I can see her going through a withdrawal. And to be honest, I was barely hanging on The entire night, I was just shaking rapidly. My heart rate must have been at 180 to 200 for a couple hours. I couldn't bring myself to calm down. And my grandma was the one who basically sat down. She kept talking to me. She told me that, to stay calm, stay calm. My mom's getting treatment and everything's going to be okay. So it was like that the entire night. So it was me sitting in a chair holding my mom's hand on the one side, and my grandmother, she was holding my mom's hand on the other side. We stayed in the emergency unit at the Shanghai hospital for the entire night. And thank God to the emergency IV drips and the medications that my mom was receiving, and she was able to recover. And everybody in that tour group, they gave my mom words of encouragement because I don't think anybody could have predicted anything like that. It was extremely scary. This is how deep that her depression had completely overwhelmed her. So afterwards, obviously, we told the story when we got home. And my grandma told the story to my sister, my cousins, everybody. We all had a very deep discussion with my mom. We all told her, please do not ever get married again, okay? Because it's just not gonna work out. And even though she never got married again for the seventh time, but even after her sixth divorce, she's also had many, many more boyfriends. And in fact, she just got a brand new boyfriend, which I heard that this guy is much younger than my mom, and he's some kind of a rich guy who works for a pharmaceutical company. Maybe I'll get to meet him when I return to China. I don't know, but I highly doubt that this new relationship is going to work out. But my family has gone through so much. It's unbelievable. And I wanted to understand something, right? So I asked everybody in my family, what could have caused all of this, right? What led to my mom filing for divorce all the way back in 1989? So and I found out something because for the longest time, okay, I understand that my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, that is, she's only had 3 children, which is actually unbelievably low considering the fact, back during her time, everybody was having 5, 6, 7, 8 children. And I found it out that my grandmother, she actually gave birth to 5. Okay, so I thought for the longest time my mom was the oldest, but I was wrong. So here is the generational curse I believe that was placed on my family. My mom was born in 1961. My mom was not the firstborn, okay? My grandmother had her first child in 1959. My mom at one point had a older brother. He was born in 1959. And remember, 5961, this was during the Great Leap Forward, okay? This is the greatest famine in the history of humanity. This was China's version of the Holodomor. So my grandmother, she must have had an extremely difficult time raising both of these children because my grandmother will also go on to have her third kid in 1963. And in 1965, she had her fourth children. Unfortunately, the fourth one died during the infancy. It only, I think, lived for a few months. And she will go on to have her fifth and the final children in the year of 1969. So very important. My uncle that was born in 1969. This is the one that went to jail for 8 years. My mom, during her entire time, okay, for the first 18 years of her life, she was arranged to be married at the age of 19. But that was normal back in the day. My grandmother, she was arranged to be married at 17. And then she had her first child at 19. So back then that was normal. So just 1 year before my mom was arranged to be married during her first marriage, okay, there was a terrible accident. So my mom's older brother, only 2 years older than her, he lost his life during a car accident. From what I can understand is that none of my family members, they want to share too much of the details because it's too difficult for them. So from what I understand is that he was sitting in one of those military style vehicles, the ones that's used during the war. So the ones where you can have dozens of soldiers just sitting in the back and talking to each other. From what I understand was that this truck ended up rolling over the ditch. And my mom's older brother, he did not die initially during the accident. However, he was so shocked from the truck rolling over into a ditch, he actually suffered from a heart attack. They sent him to the hospital, to the emergency unit right away. Unfortunately, they could not save his life. He died within a few hours after the car rolling over into a ditch. So at the age of just 18, my mom lost her older big brother. Okay, the one that was the protector, the one that was the provider for my mom. This is the big brother that my mom had always looked up to. And I believe that the death of my mom's big brother at the age of just 18, right before her first marriage, that left a permanent scar, that left permanent emotional damage on my mother. And she was never, ever, able to recover from this accident. In fact, I don't think any of my family members did. I believe this is also the reason why my uncle, the one that's born in 1969, the fact that he became so rebellious, he started abusing drugs and alcohol, the fact that he was addicted to gambling, the fact that he tried to run away from home, the fact that he committed all of these crimes and he was locked up in a Chinese prison for 8 years. I believe that all of these events are 100% correlated, okay? Even though my mom has made a lot of terrible decisions in her life, especially in her love life, I don't have a single ounce of hatred towards her because the death of her older brother had completely changed her at the age of 18. And this curse that was placed on my family in 1979, it is still running very, very deep in my family. Like I said, over 90% of my family has been through at least one divorces, many 2, 3, 4, 5 times. At the end of this video, I just have one message for you guys. If you are lucky enough to be raised in a two-parent household, you were raised by a loving father. He's the alpha male, he's the provider, he's the protector. You were also raised by a based feminine mother, the one that's loving, the one that's caring, the one that's nurturing. Maybe you didn't grow up wealthy. Maybe your parents didn't have a lot of money, but they earned enough money to put a roof over the top of your head. They earned enough money to make sure that every day you come back home, whether it's from school or it's from work, that you are able to have a nice and hot shower. And after that, everybody can sit down and enjoy a family dinner together every single night. Then you are the most privileged person in this world, because fewer and fewer people in our world, this is in any part of the world, are able to enjoy this kind of a privilege, because the divorce rate in so many countries has gone over 50%. The world is completely going to shit, because I will never ever have that experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you were lucky enough to be raised by two loving parents, the first thing you should do after watching this video is that you should pick up the phone. I'm not talking about some text message or email. Actually, pick up the phone and call them and tell your parents that how much you love them. And thank you guys so much for staying till the end. Hope you guys will have a good weekend.